And welcome back to the show. We've got Jerry Schlutzwitz here with Pacific Financial Planning. He's got a lot of important topics to talk to us about, but first of all, we want to successfully navigate retirement in an uncertain time. You, Jerry, are the one to tell us all about it. Welcome back to the show.
Well, thanks for having me, Bree. Yeah, it is an interesting time we live in, a lot of uncertainty, but more, talk than actual uncertain times yet. Those tariffs were kind of pushed back a little bit, and they're still pending, and that could still cause some problems out there. But in anticipation of the problems, we've seen a lot of volatility. And it really doesn't have to be that way, especially for seniors. If you've won the game of life, if you've got enough money, why expose yourself to risk? So there's ways to reallocate and take advantage of these times and potentially make sure that you have a successful retirement versus making some mistake and running out of money because of bad markets and bad policies.
So Jerry, we haven't seen the situation as we are currently facing with the tariffs, but I think you've got the dishwater has to get dirty before it gets clean. So we've always seen a lot of volatility in the markets. Why do you think people are so seasick from what's happening now?
Well, again, you're right. These type of times have happened over the years and over the decades, and typically once or even twice a decade you have this type of situation. However, this has really been different. We had COVID in the year 2000 where the market dropped about 37%. And then it recovered. And then 2022, we had the high inflation years, 10% inflation. The war started in Ukraine. The market dropped about 27%. I'm talking the S&P 500, the big benchmark index. And now this time we saw the S&P drop around 21%, the NASDAQ 26%. 20% or greater is called a correction. We've had 3 corrections in 5 years. So to your point, there is a chance that this can work out really well because we've seen almost an unprecedented amount of volatility in a short amount of time, trying to, maybe put the ship in a new direction. So it really comes down to making sure that our listeners, our viewers, have the right portfolio structure. If you're building a house, you want to have a good foundation.
Absolutely.
If you're retired, you want to make sure that you have the income that you need. It's all about having income and risk management and making sure that you're not taking big losses.
So
that's really what it comes down to.
Let's talk about that risk management. What are the building blocks of retirement?
Well, it basically comes down to what I call the 3 pillars, okay? And that's number 1 is income. Everything's about income. See, if you give up your job and you're not getting paid anymore, what do you need? Well, you need income. Well, where are you going to get it? Well, Social Security, of course. Some people have pensions. A lot of people don't. It's a more and more modern thing. I mean, I don't know about you, but I won't have a pension.
Oh, no way.
So it comes down to your own savings. So your own savings has got to do this mind shift from growing the money to creating enough income. If you need, let's say, $6,500 a month, you're getting $3,000 Social Security, no pension, you got to get $3,500 a month. It's over $40,000 a year. So that you could reduce your portfolio by $40,000, or you can create income.
Right.
And there's things that offer safe income, things like treasuries, banks, bonds, insurance companies. Those are your basic things. Obviously, taxes aren't a concern, but not losing money and having some sort of risk management plan in place is also really important, because if you go through these big drops and you're taking 20% losses along the way and still drawing income off of it, you're really not recovering all the way. You're always kind of stair-stepping down. And that's what's really been tough for a lot of the seniors, is they're actually losing money over that 3 big drops in 5 years.
Do you, in your anticipation, do you foresee that this is going to be leveling out and then on the upswing again? Or is that yet to be determined?
Well, how bad it gets before it levels out and goes better is the question, Bree, because do I think that things recover? I think they always recover. Saner heads prevail. Globally, nobody wants war. Nobody wants these tariff, wars, because it's an economic war. And eventually it'll work out. It's just that we've had a 20% correction that's been rebounded. Probably about half of that's come back now. Or does it go down 40%? You know, it's like, is there more to come? And that kind of depends on the policies that come out. But eventually, yeah, I think it's going to turn around. Look, oil prices are significantly lower, which means we're going to see lower prices at the pumps, which means we're going to see lower prices in everything we buy, like groceries, because of distribution costs that are transported from the farms to the warehouses, to the distribution centers, to the stores. That all involves gas costs. So if gas costs go down, cost of everything goes down. So we're going to start seeing that as well. Those are good things. If they can navigate some of this tariff stuff, obviously I think we can have a full recovery. But that doesn't mean people should just hope and have that as their strategy. Hope is not a strategy. And that's what a lot of people in the village do, is they're hoping that it comes back, and they're not taking this as an opportunity that a professional would recommend, that they reevaluate your portfolio, especially after this little rebound. Take the time, get a second opinion, and make sure that you're adjusted for the income that you need and that your portfolio is set up to weather a negative storm. See, you and I could take risks because we're younger and working, but someone retired, maybe they have too much risk, and that's what I see every time I look at a portfolio of seniors here in the village. Now, some of them have too little risk. They're all in CDs and things like that. Mm-hmm. That's fine if that's what makes them feel comfortable, but a lot of people have too much stock and too much mutual funds where these things become very concerning to their welfare.
And you would never advise somebody to sell out of their stocks or mutual funds?
Well, not just to sell blanketly all of it, no.
Out of a reactionary response.
Yeah, no, you've got to do the risk management. You've got to look at it, and then you've got to make sure that your portfolio is aligned with your needs. And your needs are safe income. Mm-hmm. So what are you going to do to supplement the Social Security to give you the income you need? Now, some people, you know, maybe 15, 20% of the viewers, maybe they have other resources, but probably 80, 85% of your viewers are depending on their own money to make that supplement. And they've got to make sure that it's coming from sources that are paying interest and dividends versus selling stock to create the income they need.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about your formula, TR equals I plus G.
Yeah, total return is TR. And that's what people want. When they say, hey, I want to invest, usually they say I want to grow my money. But they're really looking for, they want return. So growth is buying a stock at $20 a share and selling it at $40 a share. But a $20 stock could also go to 10 and become a loss. Where with the I, that stands for income. And income is safer, it's more predictable. Those are things that pay dividends and interest. You go down and buy a T-bill, you get 4.5%. Guess what? You know you get all your money back, it's guaranteed, and you're collecting a 4.5% income. Now, maybe that's not enough, but there's companies out there like an AT&T and other stocks out there and REITs that are paying 6 or even 8% dividends. So they could get that. That's predictable, and therefore it makes it safer than growth. When you retire, you've got to kind of do this mind shift from growing to save for your retirement when you're 20, 30, 40, 50 years old to drawing from your retirement. It's kind of going back down the backside of the mountain, which can be more scary than going up because there's cliffs. You don't want to fall off a market cliff.
Not at all, not at all. Jerry, why do you think that this information isn't taught, to junior high, high school age children,
college,
so that
yeah.
College all the way through, so that when you get to this age, you're not having to have these difficult conversations and being in a vulnerable position as to what do I do?
Yeah, Bree, it's not from lack of trying. I've taught junior achievement at different high schools. I taught at UCI a couple of classes over there, but it was always someone bringing me in for like a class or two.
Right.
This stuff should be taught starting in the high school level. I agree with you, and through college. It's just common sense investing. People ask me all the time, our viewers are already there, but how do I get rich? How do I, get wealthy? And it's spend less than you earn. It's a very simple thing. You've got to control your spending. So it's just like now, the seniors got to know what they spend, and it's very easy. These aren't hard calculations. I can help anyone out there who wants help. And then they've got to make sure that there's income coming in to cover that. Then whatever they do with the rest of their money, sure, they could take risks, put it in the market, they could do whatever they want. But that way they won't be concerned when we have these economic environments.
Right, right.
But we do the financial forum, and that's really what it is. I did radio for almost 20 years here in Southern California. It was all financial
Is
education.
that why your voice sounds from, I'm kidding. So yes, let's talk about your financial forum club. You do meet every month.
Yeah, Clubhouse 7, second Thursday of the month, so that's this Thursday, the 8th, 3 to 5 p.m. Anyone can come in. It's not a formal club. It is, we call it a forum because it's a group discussion. I was doing these in Corona Del Mar at their senior center, the Oasis, for over 25 years. And so, we're doing it here in the village as well. And we pick a different topic. Obviously, we're talking about what we just talked about here.
Right,
What's
right.
the tariffs, market cycles, avoiding the common mistakes, and then smart diversification. And I don't mean small companies and foreign companies. I'm talking about how much should be at risk versus no risk based on your age and risk tolerance.
Okay. Always great to have you on the show, Jerry. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you, Bree, for having me.
Thanks. Coming up next, we have Fit Brain Club. Stay with us.